Good morning. Welcome to the First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Debbie Starkle, and I serve as your church treasurer. I'm so happy to be here greeting you today. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take these words to heart. If this is your first time at our congregation, welcome. Welcome. We invite you to fill out a connection card located in front of you in your pew so that we may connect you with events and programs that interest you. You can drop this in the offering plate when it is passed later in the service. We would love to send you our weekly electronic newsletter called Channels. Following our service, all are invited to join us for coffee hour and fellowship downstairs or outside. For the wellness of everyone, we ask that you keep your mask on throughout the service. During coffee hour, you may remove your mask when you're eating or drinking. Before our service begins, I have several announcements. First, next Sunday, May 29th, the Worship Council is offering a special morning of poetry and prose. This will be a casual coffee house style service. We welcome you to come to church with a favorite poem or other reading to share, or just come and listen. There will be music, and we will hold a time for lighting candles of joys and sorrows. Gwen and Mac will be offering children's chapel during the service, and children are also welcome to hang out with everyone and read a poem too. I would also like to say that on June 5th, all are welcome to Reverend Hillary's installation ceremony at 4 p.m. here in our sanctuary. Installations typically occur within the first few months of a minister's settlement with a congregation, but due to the pandemic, we are finally confirming our shared ministry with Reverend Hillary this June, 2 years into her ministry with us. And we all know why that was. This will be a joyful service with guest ministers, special music, and a ritual act of installation that involves all the members and friends of First U. And of course, it will be followed by a party. We hope to see you there. If you are interested in helping out with the ceremony and reception, there will be sign-up sheets for volunteer jobs downstairs during coffee hour. See you June 5th. Also, a last announcement is after worship today is your opportunity to become an informed voter for the June 12th annual meeting. This is your best chance to ask questions about the revenue and expense plans for the church year that begins July 1st. Stewardship would love to see you in the common room today after worship. And those are our announcements this morning. I now invite you to take a deep breath with me as we settle in this time together. Our music director, Sam Chandler, will now lead us into worship.
Hey everybody, good morning. How are you doing? Good. Friends on Zoom, how are you? It's good to be with you as well this morning. My name is Hillary Collins-Gilpatrick. I serve as the minister here at First Universalist Church in Yarmouth, Maine. And it is with peace and friendship that I say, whoever you are, wherever you're from, whomever you love, whatever it is you have done, whatever gifts you have brought to share, whatever needs you ask be met, you are welcome here. And we're so glad you're here. Friends, today in our service, we're going to discuss this concept called centering in gifts. And centering in gifts is an approach to congregational life that the ministers and religious professionals who serve as advisors in our larger UU association have been inviting churches to consider during these times of uncertainty and upheaval, of reimagining and reconnecting. The concept of centering in gifts is founded upon the first principle of our faith, which is that all beings have inherent worth and dignity. And centering in gifts then takes it a step further and says that all of us have innate gifts within us. And when we share these gifts with others, it naturally makes the world and our community a better place. These gifts go beyond our talents and skills, though our talents and skills certainly stem from them. These gifts are just natural to who we are. We come alive when we have the opportunity to share them. As it is our human tendency to be uniquely critical of ourselves, it can be difficult to see these gifts within ourselves on our own. And that's where community comes in. Often others easily see these gifts that we possess in a way that we cannot. And these others around us can then provide opportunities, can give us invitations to share these gifts. With that in mind, think with me for a second about someone in your life who lives their gifts. Someone who lives their gifts. Even without a clear definition of what is meant by gifts, did someone come to your mind? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The spiritual practice, then, of centering in gifts is about recognizing our gifts, offering our gifts, and creating opportunities for others to offer their gifts, which sounds pretty nice. If you're still a little bewildered about this whole concept, that is okay. You clearly have a great gift for critical thinking and seeking clarity. I like it. And fear not, my friends, we'll be taking a deep dive into our congregational gift bag this morning, and hopefully we'll provide you with some of the clarity you seek, as well as beginning what I'm hoping will be the first of many conversations about the practice of centering in gifts. Our call to worship this morning is a pithy but potent proverb by the wise minister activist, the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. Sarah Whitty, our wise board president, reminded me of this teaching last week following a conversation we had on centering in gifts. Thank you for that, Sarah. Thurman writes, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Good morning, my alive and gifted friends. It is so good to be with you this fresh and green morning. As you are able, I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join your voice with mine as we read aloud our unison affirmation. We are united in seeking to increase love with justice and to constitute a free church open to all people. Mindful of our past and drawing upon modern knowledge, we respond to the spiritual needs of persons and are devoted to the common good in community, nation, and world. We cherish the integrity of each individual and search for truth with reason as our guide. We respect differences of opinion and strive to be a democratic community. We are concerned with this world and open to the future. Beautiful. You may be seated. And as I light our chalice, I welcome any kiddos forward who would like to help me light the symbol of our faith this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to play a little bit of a game. So I've packed a few things that symbolize my gifts in a bag. And Hillary has packed a couple things that symbolize her gifts in a bag. And we don't know each other's gifts or what they may mean. So we're going to need your help to maybe come to some conclusions about what these might mean in terms of our person, our innate gifts.
You sound good.
Do you think you can do it?
Because recognizing gifts is an act of community. You know, we got to spot these in each other and help one another clarify our gifts. Beautiful. Okay.
Okay, I'll take yours, you take mine.
Move this over here.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
I will. Okay, let's see. A rock. Okay.
What kind of gift might a rock symbolize? Solid.
Solid.
Yeah, what? Steady.
Steady.
Yes. Grounded. Able to break a window?
True. True. Often found on beaches.
Yeah. That's it.
Yes.
Getting
Oh,
better
I
with
like that.
time.
Tough. Sturdy, yes.
Does anyone here think that they have an innate gift that could be symbolized by a stone? Yeah? I definitely think there are many people in here who have a gift of a stone inside. Beautiful. Okay.
Nice.
Take it just gently. Okay. Mod Podge. Oh. Artistic. Creative. Sticky.
That's what I was thinking.
A connector. Yeah. Yeah, what do you use Mod Podge for? Like collages?
Yes, that's what I do.
Ooh.
So I put that in there because I like to collage, and usually when I collage, I use a ton of different materials, and then I find a similarity between them and merge them all together.
Ooh.
And I think I do that in real life too.
You sure do. You should. Anyone think they have an inner gift of Mod Podge inside of them? Marion Baker, I think you have a gift of Mod Podge inside of you for sure. Beautiful.
All right, Hillary, let's see. Binoculars.
Yeah. Oh.
Far-seeing.
Perspective. Focus. Ooh, curiosity.
I'm curious, Hillary, why did you put binoculars in here?
So I like to see what my neighbor's doing in his backyard all day. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I like to look at birds. I'm very curious what's going on outside. Anyone else really curious? Just like to look at things and see what's happening? Yeah. Get up on a perch and look out far and wide. Ooh, I got some rosemary. Oh, what might this symbolize, my friends? Cooking. Remembrance. Ooh, deeper symbolism. Perennial. Ooh, yeah.
Spice.
Sensory pleasure. Spicing things up.
Spicing things up?
Smells good. You have an innate gift for smelling good?
Yes, and I also think I have an innate gift of just knowing what things taste like, if that makes sense. Like, I can take a sip of a soup and know what spices are in there.
Oh, so, yeah. Discerning.
Yeah, good one.
Anyone have some inner rosemary? Or maybe cayenne? Huh? Yeah? I think there's definitely some cayenne in this room, for sure. Good, and good cooks, a lot of good cooks, which I'm slowly learning. Okay.
A zodiac puzzle.
The zodiac's not that important,
Okay,
but it is Mercury is retrograde, so we can acknowledge that right now. Puzzle.
Problem solving.
Patience.
Yeah, this is 500 pieces, so I'd say yes, patience.
Good at math? Well, that's an aspirational gift of mine, that's for sure. Methodical.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. Persistent. Who here, like, every little piece counts to make a bigger picture, right? Patterns, looking for patterns, seeing patterns. Who here likes to do puzzles? Anyone get into those over the pandemic? Yeah. Love puzzles. All right, this is your last gift in here, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I see a photograph that has you and some kids, I believe, and there's a lot of cat fur stuck. This photograph, is that an accident or is that on purpose?
That was on purpose. No, that's an accident. Okay. That's called having a cat who doesn't respect boundaries.
So this is a picture of you teaching, I believe. Mm-hmm. For folks here in the center, it's a picture of Mac kind of sitting against the wall with a couple of kids reading a book together. Yeah, it's a beautiful photo.
Why do you think they put that in? Educator, yes. Say again? Yeah, thank you. I also really love to tell stories.
Ooh.
I like to not only read out loud, but tell stories either from my mind or from other people's.
Yeah. Any storytellers in here? Right there, Stella's a storyteller. Stella the storyteller. That's great.
That's
great
true.
alliteration. Beautiful. All right, last one.
Okay. A rubber band. Flexible.
Not actually that flexible, but
Metaphorically.
metaphorically.
Anything else that a rubber band could symbolize?
Keeping it all together, holding it together.
Definitely. Being flexible.
Nice.
Keeping it together.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any rubber bands in this room? Rubber band man? Sam. Rubber band. Definitely. So after doing this exercise with you all, can you think of perhaps an object that would represent one of your innate gifts or perhaps one of your aspirational gifts that you feel might be within you and you just need to kind of seek it out a bit? What objects represent your gifts or someone you love's gifts? Can you think of anything? It's tricky.
Yeah. You know what's weird? What came to mind for me is not from my gift, but a pot holder. Because I recently went to my grandma's, and she always makes pot holders, but I also think she's really good at protecting people.
Ooh, protecting people. Yeah, I thought of sunscreen or sunglasses. Like when it gets a little too intense, like someone might have the gift for kind of just like offering some shade or some protection. Beautiful. Well, perhaps this is something to turn over in your mind as you walk through the day and see what objects you're drawn to or come to mind and how those might represent who you are. Thanks for playing, Mac. Thanks for playing, everybody. My rubber band friends.
And before we go downstairs and have some time for Children's Chapel, we're going to do our Children's Blessing. Are we ready? We are Unitarian Universalists, people of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Thanks for playing with us.
We now come to the time in our service that we set aside for quiet prayer and meditation. This can be a time to reflect on the events of the past week, look forward to what might come in the days ahead, offer a prayer of loving kindness to those in need of loving kindness, or simply be here now and just do this. Following our time of quiet, I'll ring a chime, and all will be welcome to come forward and light a candle for a joy, a sorrow, or a concern you hold today. Before that, though, won't you join me in taking a deep, refreshing breath in, a calming breath out, and enter into a sacred time of silence. For all that has been shared, for all we hold inside, for all we simply do not have the words to explain. We hear you, we hold you, and we wish you immediate comfort, continued joy, a path forward, and the seeds of peace right now. Let it be so, and amen. Debbie will now introduce our offering today.
Honoring our second principle, justice, equity, and the compassion in human relations, our half-plate continues to address the immediate needs of the 37 new Mainer families who have recently arrived in Yarmouth and are being housed in a Yarmouth motel. Through donations, YCAN, that's the Yarmouth Cares About Neighbors, is working to address their many needs. If you would like to get involved, Yarmouth Community Service is seeking volunteers for local transportation, childcare during language classes, and more. Please connect with Marge at 272-9345 if interested in being part of the solution. Your generosity is greatly received. For those of you in the sanctuary this morning, we will pass the plate to one another, and for those gathered with us online, you are invited to make your offering using the donate button in the order of worship. By clicking this link, you will be taken to Give Butter, a virtual giving site that accepts card number, PayPal, and Venmo accounts. You may also make your offering by dropping a check in the mail or using your bank's free bill pay feature. Thank you for your generosity and compassion. Thank you again.
So I'd like to take a moment to introduce this song a little bit and talk about why I chose this song for this particular service. I found myself, when prepping for the service today, prepping the music, just completely overwhelmed by the state of our world, by the horrible shootings, by the Roe v. Wade Act being repealed, and not to mention reminding myself of the struggles we faced over the last 2 years with the shooting of George Floyd and the protests and uprisings that happened in response to that. All these things are swirling around in my head as I tried to figure out what to do for this service. Personally, I'm in the space right now, I see myself at the tail end of about a half-decade of rest. One of the most important parts of activism is making sure you're good to keep going. And when I saw all these things happening over the past years, I took some comfort knowing that I needed to rest and recuperate so that I could re-engage. But now I'm at that point where I want to re-engage, and I'm ready to re-engage. So I'm filled with anger, I'm concerned, I'm upset, but I want to do something about it. And so I was drawn to this song, Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, written in 1963, which is part of why this has struck me so powerfully, a song written almost 60 years ago with far too many things that strike so close to home. I will say I want to point out a difference between sort of the personal meaning of this song versus what might be seen as some of the hidden meaning of the song. There's a lot of religious language, religious imagery. He uses the number 12, which is a very important number in Judaism. He talks about a white ladder covered in water, which refers to Jacob's ladder. So there are all these sort of religious imagery pieces. But what drew me to the song is you have this long set of verses, 4 verses, in which a young person talks about all the terrible things they're seeing in the world, and a few nice things. And then you get to the last verse, and it's the song set up. There's a little introduction from the father saying, "Oh, what do you do now?" And the son says, "I'm going back out, for the rain starts to fall in. I'll walk to the depths of the deepest black forest." He's willing to go out after seeing all of these terrible things, after coming back home maybe to a place of rest. He's ready to face that terrible world and to do something about it. So I've chosen a song for that reason. I think it's a time for many of us to consider how we can engage with our world, how we can actually go out and make a difference, be that through activism, through care work, through just being more thoughtful with the people around you. Personally, for me, this means, how can I engage as an activist? How can I actually try to do something to change and stop all the terrible things that are happening? So I'm going to perform Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. Oh, where you been, my blue-eyed son? Oh, where you been, my darling young one? I stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains. I walked and I crawled on 6 crooked highways. I stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain gonna fall. Oh, what did you see, my blue-eyed son? Oh, what did you see, my darling young one? I saw a newborn baby with wild wolves around it. I saw a highway of diamonds with nobody on it. I saw a black branch with blood that kept dripping. I saw a room full of men with their hammers a-bleeding. I saw a white ladder all covered with water. I saw 10,000 talkers whose tongues were all broken. I saw guns and sharp swords in the hands of young children. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain gonna fall. And what did you hear, my blue-eyed son? And what did you hear, my darling young one? I heard the sound of a thunder, it roared out a warning. I heard the roar of a wave that could drown the whole world. I heard 100 drummers whose hands were ablazing. And I heard 10,000 whispering and nobody listening. Heard one person starve, I heard many people laughing. I heard the song of a poet who died in the gutter. I heard the sound of a clown who cried in the alley. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain gonna fall. Oh, who did you meet, my blue-eyed son? Oh, who did you meet, my darling young one? I met a young child beside a dead pony. I met a white man who walked a black dog. I met a young woman whose body was burning. I met a young girl, she gave me a rainbow. I met one man who was wounded in love. I met another man who was wounded in hatred. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain gonna fall. Oh, what do you do now, my blue-eyed son? Oh, what do you do now, my darling young one? I'm going back out before the rain starts a-falling. I'll walk to the depths of the deepest black forest, where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the pellets of poison are flooding their waters, where the home in the valley meets the damp, dirty prison, where the executioner's face is always well hidden, where hunger is ugly, where souls are forgotten, where black is the color, where none is the number. And I'll tell it and think it and speak it and breathe it and reflect it from the mountain so all souls can hear it. And I'll stand on the ocean until I start sinking. But I'll know my song well before I start singing. And it's a hard rain. It's a hard rain gonna fall. I invite everyone to take a moment of silence to reflect on what it feels like to live in this present moment. Please join me in humming the Song of Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Sam. The children playing outside. Okay. So this idea of centering in gifts is founded upon the work of a teacher named Malidoma Somé, an elder of the Dagara people of Burkina Faso. And Somé experienced a brutal childhood. When he was 4, he was kidnapped from his family by Jesuit priests and held in residence at a Catholic boarding school for 16 years, where he was abused and forcibly trained to become a priest. And when Somé was 20, he finally left that school and walked over 100 miles back to his homeland. When he arrived, he was welcomed there, but was considered an outsider. And to reintegrate back into his family and tribe, Somé participated in a series of rituals typically offered to young boys as rites of passage. Through this process, he became invested in the spirituality of healing, of bridging 2 worlds, 2 cultures, 2 perspectives together. And in time, Malidoma Somé was ordained a shaman, a person in touch with the spirit world and gifted with great powers of healing. Inspired by the meaning of his name, Malidoma, which roughly translates to friend of the stranger or friend of the enemy, Somé spent much of his life in the West, pursuing education in Europe and the United States. He received doctorates from the Sorbonne and Brandeis University and served as a professor at Stanford and the University of Michigan. Very sadly, Malidoma Somé died this past December at the age of 65. And I became interested in his work around that time when Mick Groot, a UUA staff member, mentioned her grief over his death while helping Gwen and I put together our January all-church retreat. Malidoma Somé had been an important teacher for Mick. I encourage you all to check out Somé's writings and teachings. He's written a number of books, and you can easily find many of his talks online. And there are two of his teachings I want to lift up today during this service on centering and gifts. The first is a teaching that feels especially prudent and provocative these days, a teaching I feel Sam evoked in playing that Dylan song and introducing it today. It's a teaching that calls us not to shy away from the challenges of our lives or the pain of the world, but rather face it, ideally in community, knowing that we have what we need to overcome the obstacles placed in our way and to heal the suffering we encounter within ourselves and others. You see, the Dagara people to which Somé belonged held that no challenge, no crisis, no tragedy was beyond our ability to witness and heal. Given the events of his life, I want to trust him on that. In a talk he gave last summer, Somé explained this belief in detail. In my culture, he spoke, they say that if you witness a crisis somewhere, that's because the ancestors have brought you to that specific intersection, because the ancestors know that you specifically have what it takes inside of you to tend to that problem. They don't take you there just to be a reporter, he continued, just to point your finger at the thing that isn't working in the world and explain that this is why life is not as good as it should be. No, he went on. Our capacity to see these problems is an offer to let loose the gifts and healing powers we carry inside of us. I hold this teaching not in an appropriative way. I am not a member of the Dagara people, and therefore do not claim to have the guidance of the Dagara ancestors. Though admittedly, these days, I could see all of the ancestors banding together, trying to get our attention about a few things. However, I can certainly understand and feel an essence of this teaching, which is that when we simply cannot turn away from something in disrepair, something causing harm, a crisis, it is because there is something inside of us, a gift, that wants to respond to this problem in a constructive and healing way. A gift that is knocking at the gates, pounding at the gates of our clenched up, seething, grieving, doom-scrolling hearts. A gift asking intently to be explored, embraced, and engaged, ideally in the company of others. The other teaching of Malidoma Somé I lift up today is the founding principle of centering and gifts. And this principle is twofold. Firstly, to quote Somé again, no one comes into this world for no reason. We all come into this world carrying a gift and with a purpose to deliver that gift in the brightest way possible. That's nice. And secondly, in his words, we crave to have our gifts approved, acknowledged, and affirmed. We crave for other people to want our gifts. We crave to be needed for our gifts. So simply put, we all have gifts, we all want to share these gifts with others, and we need opportunities for these gifts to be received. That is centering in gifts. Malidoma Somé liked to call himself a reverse missionary, meaning that rather than giving groups of people his gifts, He provided opportunities for people to give their gifts. Interesting, right? Makes sense. The call of Malidoma Somé's reverse ministry was to awaken in all of us the innate gifts we possess. It's a good ministry. Our gifts. Awaken our gifts for noticing the details, our gifts for listening, our gifts for telling stories, for making others feel loved, our gifts for nurturing life, for critical thinking, for curiosity in the face of fear, humor in the face of failure, love in the face of shame. Our gifts for playing make-believe with children, gifts for math. That gift, man. Gifts for art and for poetry. Gifts for deciphering legal jargon. Our gifts for protecting the defenseless. Our gifts for bossing people around. I mean, giving clear directions. Gifts for making the uneasy feel welcomed and at ease. Gifts for just being able to hold silence or to really feel it when you offer loving kindness to another. When we can offer these innate gifts for others, it feels so good. It just flows. It's natural, it just flows. Having studied the wisdom of Malidoma Somé, members of the UUA staff, the folks who advise our congregations, have developed an approach to congregational life that is organized around the concept of centering and gifts. This idea states that rather than structuring church around the time and commitment of a selection of lay leaders, that a church system is instead organized around providing opportunities for all members and friends to share and receive each other's gifts. It's a call-in. It's a welcome to all to participate, to give and receive. As this idea gains traction in our faith, I've been thinking how it pertains to our congregation here at First U. What are our gifts? What are your gifts? What opportunities do you need to explore, embrace, and engage your gifts here? To answer this question, I thought about writing up a big survey about all the gifts and passions you might have and give it to you during this service. And filling it out would take up the whole service, and then we could put it all in some database over the summer and shape the church here. Buy it next fall. I also thought about just blowing the whole church system up and having open council and committee meetings next year with no committed members, just anyone who felt moved to share or engage in our community in a way that flowed for them during November. I was really serious about that. I'm glad I didn't try it. You would have laughed at me, but I thought it was a cool idea. After weeks of mulling over this concept and rambling on about it to pretty much anyone who would listen, Sarah Whitty, WISE board president, invited Reverend Erica Barron to attend our Board of Trustees meeting this month. Erica is a staff member in the UUA who's been writing on and studying the idea of centering and gifts, and you can read a bunch of blog posts she's written about it on the UUA website. Excuse me. During the meeting, Erica clarified some of my ideas around centering and gifts. What was one of the first things she said? You don't have to blow up the whole church system. Centering and gifts is a way to fortify your community, an added element. What was the other big recommendation she made? Often, the first thought when it comes to taking on the centering gifts approach is to offer a big congregational survey. This is not the answer. My friends, I have a real gift for getting really excited when faced with a new idea. Turns out, rather than quietly filling out individual surveys, having conversations on centering gifts is the way. Continuous conversations over a stretch of time. Conversations that allow this whole idea to just wash over us. and soak in. This idea that we all have innate gifts. Every human being longs to deliver their gifts and have these gifts acknowledged. And when we give our gifts and receive the gifts of others, it maintains and strengthens the well-being of our community. So that being said, I want to give us a chance to have a conversation today, just a short one. In your order of worship, and Joanna, maybe you can plug these in the chat on Zoom. You have a little sheet of paper that says time for wonder. And you've got two sets of questions there, two couplets. And I want to give you just a minute to look over all of those questions and choose one of those couplets and just mull that over for a minute. Don't overthink it. First thoughts, best thoughts. Just let it wash over you. And after a minute of mulling that over, I'm going to ring a chime and invite you to just turn to those around you and ask one another these questions and listen as folks share. We'll just do it for 5 minutes or so. Sound okay? Great. So just take a moment now. Look over these questions. If you don't have a copy, I'm happy to bring one to you. And in a moment, I'll ring the chime, and you can turn and chat. All right, turn to your friends, my friends. Toss these questions around a little bit. They're big ones. Take your time. Okay. Okay. As I said, my friends, this is the first of many. Please continue these conversations in coffee hour today and beyond. So, because I am off next Sunday for Memorial Weekend, this is the last service I will lead for you before the installation ceremony on June 5th. Woo. And the installation is an important ceremony for our congregation, a ritual marker confirming and affirming our shared ministry, our shared gifts. Gifts that, when awakened, offered, and received, will strengthen this community and make well our world. It's a big day. So that said, at this cusp, this beginning of our conversations about centering and gifts, this liminal moment before my time as your minister is fully confirmed and we take up the responsibility of our shared ministry officially, I offer you this blessing, us this blessing, and this charge upon our gifts. So won't you join me in a time of blessing? Friends, let us be enlivened by life. When a joy arises, when a gift is shared with us, let us receive it and celebrate it. When a pain in the world cannot be ignored, let's turn toward it. Let's open the door on which our gifts are knocking, calling out to us to wake up and recognize that we have what we need. We are of use. Friends, let us bring our gifts to life together, because our gifts are not for us alone. They're meant to build, maintain, and restore the world, to heal the wound, bridge the divide, befriend the stranger, and give solace to the afflicted. That's what our gifts are for. To rejoice in the possibilities and opportunities of every day. That's what our gifts are for. My friends, let us be enlivened by life. Let's bring our gifts to life. Let it be so. And amen. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Joanna and Pete on tech crew this morning. Thank you, Mac, playing outside. And thanks to Debbie for helping out today. And thank you to all of you for being here to share your gifts and receive the gifts of others. You're invited to join us to sing our closing hymn outside, My Life Flows On, an Endless Song, number 108, very auspicious number. The lyrics are in your order of worship. And before we leave this place, won't you join me once again in a time of prayer? May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings experience profound joy and the causes of profound joy. May all beings awaken their gifts, feel good giving their gifts, and have a recipient for their gifts. May it be so, and won't you join me in the words of our unison benediction, my friends? For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Enjoy this beautiful day. Come sing with us.